Tennessee's football commit over the weekend is a perfect example of why Tennessee recruiting is going to be A-OK for the class of 2025. That and more. It's your Monday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Can't thank you guys enough for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch every single day. Shout out every dayers for making this a part of your morning routine. And of course, don't forget, make Locked On SEC your second listen or your second watch here on a Monday morning. Big week coming up. With the kickoff of the SEC Media Days in Dallas, Texas, starting today. Of course, Tennessee will take to the podium tomorrow. We'll have coverage of that all week long, plus your mailbag questions on Tuesday as well. But first here today, 4-star Travis Smith commits to the University of Tennessee. And just like that, it feels like all is going to be okay with Tennessee football recruiting. I'll tell you about that here in a matter of seconds. SEC Media Day storylines for the conference and for the University of Tennessee in segment 2. And the new Smoky Gray jerseys have been unveiled, year 3 of 4 of the 4-year series. A lot of comments, a lot of opinions over the weekend. That and more is coming up here on your Monday show. Big shout out to Game Time for making this a part of your to making this show possible. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. So, 4-star wide receiver Travis Smith, he commits to the University of Tennessee. Travis Smith picks Tennessee over the likes of the other two finalists, which were Alabama and Georgia. So again, when we are looking at some of the recruiting battle wins, and you're winning over Alabama, you're winning over Georgia, you're winning over LSU and teams like that, Texas, that means you're heading in the right direction, right? I mean, we're going to talk about how Josh Heupel was recruited while being here at Tennessee, and you look at the classes and all that, and sure, it's great to be 10 or 11, but are you winning battles over the Alabamas and the Georgias? And Tennessee's starting to do that more and more throughout this 2025 cycle. Travis Smith, wide receiver, 6'3", 200 pounds, from Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia. According to the On3 industry rankings, Travis Smith is recruit number 81 nationally, so a top 100 recruit in the nation, according to the On3 industry rankings. 12th wide receiver, 11th prospect from the state of Georgia, and football recruiting in the state of Georgia, if you're top 15, means you're pretty daggone good, and that's, of course, where Travis Smith sits in right now. The On3 rankings specifically have Travis Smith as the 59th rated overall prospect, 10th wide receiver, 8th prospect from the Georgia. 247 has him prospect number 149 in the country, still very respectable. 15th at the position, 20th in the state. ESPN, that doesn't know what they're doing, has him at 211th, 26th, and 33. And then Rivals.com has him at 142nd, 27th wide receiver, 16th from the state of Georgia. So, On3 is higher on Travis Smith than some of the other publications, where a lot of you guys were talking about how On3 hates all Tennessee recruits this time last week. But, Travis Smith picks Tennessee over Georgia and Alabama. The recruiting comparison for Travis Smith is not out there right now. I guess I'll do that later on in the cycle. But nonetheless, Travis Smith picks Tennessee over Georgia and Alabama. And you look at the scout over at the Impact Analysis over at on3volquest.com that Matt Ray did over the weekend when he committed it was Saturday evening about 7, 8 o'clock-ish. This is a quote from Charles Power, who is Director of Scouting and Recruiting for On3. Quote, Travis Smith is a big, smooth, moving receiver and one who really kind of came on our radar, and I think largely college radars early on this junior season. He had several big games against some good competition. He is one who just kind of continues to impress throughout this junior season. He has, I think, for starters, very good size, already at 6'3", 200 pounds. He's got 33-inch arms. So he's kind of how you draw it up physically, just from an outside, big body wide receiver standpoint. Finishes junior year with close to 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. Really like the ball skills. Has the ability to win a contested catch in those situations. Had some highlight catches as a junior going up and kind of contorting his body and boxing out defenders in traffic. I think he showed pretty big catch radius in terms of just coming down in those situations, battling for 50-50 balls. Seeing him in person move around at the Under Armour All-American camp in Atlanta back in February, I thought he was a fluid mover. A guy who I think projects as a good route runner at his size. He can change directions as well, get in and out of his breaks. I think that's a positive as well. I think the biggest area for him to continue to improve is just the long speed and the ability to separate. Charles Powers goes on to say and says, good get for Tennessee. I think he's a guy who kind of fits in with what their staff likes at the wide receiver position. I think they like the big body guys, and he's certainly a guy who I think kind of embodies a little bit of what they kind of go for on the outside. So he's a guy who obviously was coveted, and I think the receiver position Tennessee's done really well. I think Travis Smith Jr. is certainly a really good fit for the Volunteers. End quote. That is from the Director of Recruiting and Scouting for On3, Mr. Charles Power. So yeah, I mean, Tennessee certainly is starting to close this class, kind of final, not completely final. They'll always have a spot or two open for some late risers. Senior year tape in the month of, in the summer or in the fall months. I think Arian Carter, he jumped on Tennessee's radar throughout, really strong senior tape back in the 2023 cycle. But you look at Tennessee now, and I mean, the Volunteers now have 17 commits for the class of 2025, and you're looking to add on to what is already your nucleus and already your core group of recruits. Linebacker Christian Gass, he's set to announce on July the 20th, so that's coming up this week. 4-star safety Shaedy Hayward's going to announce on July the 27th. You've got teammates of Travis Smith, offensive tackle Juan Gaston, who Tennessee very much is in on, who would very much like to bring him along. And there were a couple of tweets from some staffers over at the University of Tennessee Saturday night that said, hey, great get. Why don't you bring a friend with you? I thought that was kind of funny. But that being Juan Gaston, he's set to announce on August the 2nd. And, of course, David Sanders, the 5-star offensive tackle recruit. Tennessee, Georgia's in that, but it's Tennessee, Ohio State. That is set to come down on August the 17th. So, Tennessee's probably done at the wide receiver position when you look at kind of what Tennessee already has right now. Travis Smith is one of the highest rated prospects in this class, the 4th highest rated prospect in this class, according to the industry comparison rankings. So he will join the likes of Rodarius Jackson, who was a late riser, in-state wide receiver for the University of Tennessee at the wide receiver position. He will also link up with Joakim Dotson, another in-state prospect for Tennessee. And so that makes 3 wide receivers. Tennessee might add another one, but we will see certainly. Getting Travis Smith adds some validity certainly to the wide receiver class for Tennessee here in 2025 cycle. 17 commits now. And just like that, Tennessee's still 13th now. Okay, On3 redid their rankings, and so it shuffled a lot of guys around, most notably one-time 5-star quarterback commit George McIntyre, who was dropped down to a 4-star, and he went from like overall prospect number 17 to overall prospect like number 74 per On3. I think that's a little bit of a stretch there for one guy to slide in the offseason when there's no games, but nonetheless, because On3 redid their rankings, some of the overall positioning kind of changed. And at one point in time last week, Tennessee was like 16th or 15th in the country and 9th in the SEC. But just like that, with one blue-collar type commitment from Travis Smith at the wide receiver position, Tennessee has jumped up to number 13 overall in the rankings and number 6 in the Southeastern Conference. Tennessee needs to finish in the top 5 in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion. And if you go and you're able to finalize on any of these guys, and Shaedy Hayward or Christian Gass or Juan Gaston and David Sanders, especially David Sanders, the 5-star, especially Juan Gaston, who is a really, really good player. Christian Gass is also a top 100 player for, considered by On3. Overall, he's 225. But any of these guys, Tennessee is going to be taking the right steps in ordering to, close out what should be a top 5 class in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion. So never fear. Recruiting is always evolving. There are always more commits to jump off, and to potentially jump on the board. And when that happens, rankings will be affected, good or bad. And, with Travis Smith, number 12 wide receiver, number 81 overall player, according to On3, a really, really good get. And that came down the newswire late on a Saturday evening. And Tennessee now has 17 commits for the class of 2025. 5. George McIntyre still leads the way as the highest-rated prospect, according to the On3 Industry Comparison. Douglas Utu, interior offensive lineman, is at number 2. Marion Dye is at number 3. And then there's Travis Smith coming in there at number 4. So, Tennessee recruiting still not done. There's still going to be plenty more, in my opinion, that will jump in, and we'll have the opportunity to propel Tennessee into a top 10 class and top 5 in the Southeastern Conference. Just like that, never fear. One commit can kind of change the narrative, and that's what Travis Smith did over the weekend for the University of Tennessee. Hey, when we come back, we will take a look at SEC Media Days getting going right now, starting in Dallas, Texas. Some storylines from across the conference, and then specifically for the University of Tennessee. That is coming up next. We continue on here with your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Passion drives patience. The formula for winning championships is what also keeps your ride or die alive today. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. If you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money is back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car an MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep a ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Motors. Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Hey, welcome back in your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Go ahead and check out Locked On SEC. Make that your second listen, your second watch when we're done right here. No bigger week in the summer months than this week, with it being SEC Media Days. So obviously checking out Locked On Vols, and I'll get you set with everything coming out of Dallas as well. But also Chris Gordy over at Locked On SEC. He's going to have firsthand accounts and all that good stuff from Dallas Radio Row. Okay, so what are some of the big-time storylines entering this week with SEC Media Days? Well, we'll start first from a specific Tennessee perspective, shall we? We know that Amari Thomas, we know that Cooper Mays, we know that Keenan Peele are going to be Tennessee's representatives when they take the stage, along with Josh Heupel and 3 other teams, one of which being Oklahoma, because, of course, on Tuesday for their spot in the spotlight, if you will, the limelight. So some of the biggest storylines for Tennessee when Tennessee's going to be there, and really throughout the rest of the week, is going to be Nico. The anticipation, the hype. You know, I did a podcast hit with On3's Oklahoma affiliate. I believe that's Sooner Scoop is their name, and really great time. I had a good time talking with them, and I pretty much said at one point in time, like, hey, you know, the anticipation. This has been years in the making. This has been, go all the way back to to November of 2021, really. November of 2021, when Nico first made his first stop, I believe, at the Vanderbilt game. You know, for an unofficial visit. And then on into the winter months of January, February, March of 2022. And then when he commits in March of 2022, and then, you know, he obviously signs, and then before, you know, he appears on campus, you know, as an early enrollee a year later for the winter cycle, for the winter early enroll period of 2023, I guess. And he's the number 1 overall prospect in the country. And then he's a backup quarterback. And then he gets his first starts against Iowa in the bowl game. And now we're here. My point is, this has been years and years in the making, right? There's been years and years of anticipation. And so Nico all over the place is going to be a storyline really for the conference wide, but also for, you know, Tennessee. Nico. How's he looking? How's he leading? Is he the real deal? You know, we're soon to find out. Another storyline for the University of Tennessee is obviously going to be Josh Heupel, Oklahoma. I will bet anybody willing to wager, little gentleman's agreement here, within the first 3 questions of Josh Heupel at the big podium, somebody will ask him about Oklahoma, whether the game coming up against Oklahoma in Week 4 of the SEC opener, going back to Norman, his relationship with Oklahoma, the fan base, the program, the Stoops family, willing to do a little gentleman's agreement here. I bet that's question 3 or before, when Josh Heupel takes the main podium on Tuesday, that he's going to be asked about Oklahoma, because obviously, and Oklahoma's obviously going the same day as Tennessee, and Tennessee's obviously playing Oklahoma, not Texas, in year 1 that they're in the conference, and obviously it's going to be the SEC opener, and obviously the game's going to be in Norman, because of course, why not? This is made for television, right? And the national media and the SEC are trying to smack us over the head with the storyline of Josh Heupel in Oklahoma. Josh Heupel just wants to go play football, coach football. Josh Heupel just wants to go lead his team, which is Tennessee right now, back into Norman and pick up a W. So that's going to be a major storyline, obviously, this week, and specifically Tuesday when Tennessee is in Dallas. College football playoff hopes, 12-team college football expansion, so there's going to be more opportunities. I think there's about 8 teams that have an opportunity to be in that conversation. Probably only 4 teams will make it at most, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe some more. And will Tennessee be one of those teams to make it? Will Tennessee be one of those teams come November that's in the conversation? I think so for sure that they'll be in the conversation. Will Tennessee end up making it? I don't know. We'll have to see. But certainly they're going to be asked about that a ton this week with the college football playoff hopes and now with the expansion from 4 over to 12. Secondary, completely redone. All 5 starters from last year's Tennessee secondary is gone. And all 5 are replaced by second-year players that weren't starters last year, or transfer portal gets, or veterans who were on the roster who weren't starters. You've got Ricky Gibson, who at cornerback will certainly be a part of the fold, and he's going to be a starter at cornerback. He was a freshman last year. You got Andre Turrentine at safety, that has been in the program now going on 3 years when he actually came over via the transfer portal from Ohio State. You've got Jordan Thomas at the star position that's been in the program now 2 years, and if he stays healthy, he will start at the star position. So there's some familiarity in that respect, some Will Brooks and some other guys. But also there's adding in Jamal McCoy from Oregon State, freshman All-American, to play cornerback. Jalen McMurray coming over from Temple, who's going to add some depth at the cornerback position. Jacoby Thomas coming up from MTSU, that's been a 5-year player, and he's going to add some stability and obviously going to be pushing for a starting role at safety for the University of Tennessee. Boo Carter coming in. What's his emergence going to look like at the star position? And can Boo Carter come in, take over that spot, and move Jordan Thomas to safety? That's something I'm watching for at some point in time during the season. The secondary is going to be a conversation for Tennessee in the SEC Media Days. Also, what about Josh Heupel compared to other coaches he came into the league with? We've done coaching rankings, and, I boo-hooed all over CBS Sports' SEC head coaches rankings a couple weeks ago. I had Josh Heupel 8th or whatever behind Mark Stoops, behind Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, come on. You kidding me here? Whatever it was, 7th, 8th. But look at some of the other coaches that Josh Heupel came into the league with. Shane Beamer, clearly ahead of Shane Beamer at this point in time. Clark Lee, clearly ahead of Clark Lee at this point in time. Steve Sarkisian became the head coach at Texas in 2021. Obviously, Texas was not in the SEC. Obviously, to this point, Texas has accomplished more than Tennessee, but now Texas coming into the to the league, and Josh Heupel and Steve Sarkisian, not all the same, but they did start coaching at their respective schools prior to the 2021 season. So maybe that's, going into year 4, kind of where Josh Heupel, progress report is going to be a part of the conversation down there in Dallas. Defensive overall stepping up, defense stepping up. It's gotten better and better every single year that Tennessee has been here. And Tennessee's front 7 is going to be, at least the front 4, arguably some of the best in the country, in my opinion. And then I think some of the conversation will also be, why isn't Nico here? Why isn't Brew McCoy here? Why isn't James Pierce here? Why isn't Dylan Sampson here? James Pierce, certainly going to be a conversation over the SEC Media Days as well. I can't believe I haven't mentioned him yet. Pass rusher, potential number 1 overall pick, in 2025's NFL draft, potentially the top defensive player selected for the 2025 NFL draft. We'll see what happens. But I also do think that some of the conversation will be like, why isn't Nico here? Why isn't James Pierce here? Well, Tennessee wants good representatives of the program, like I talked about last week. Smart guys. Not that those guys are not good representatives or not smart. I'm just saying you know exactly what you're going to get with Keenan Peely, Omari Thomas, and Cooper Mays. And that's what you want if you're a head football coach, for sure. Obviously, they're leaders as well. They're all 3 fifth-year and up guys, and they represent the program really, really well. So that would be my answer to that. So those are some of the Tennessee storylines I think that are going to take place for SEC Media Days down there in Dallas. What about some of the conference-wide storylines? Well, Saturday Down South put out an article earlier this past weekend, and just going to go through and list some of the stuff that they list over there. This is actually from Connor O'Gara, so go check it out. One of the storylines, welcome Texas and Oklahoma. Obviously, that's going to be a huge storyline. The post-Nick Saban world for college football, the SEC, Alabama specifically. That's going to be a huge storyline. EA Sports, college football video game. We know that there's going to be a ton of talk about to these specific players, about if they're excited to play in the game, if they opted in, what they think their overall rating should be, all that and more. 12-team college playoff hopes. Quarterbacks around the league, obviously. It's a pretty solid class of quarterbacks for the class for this SEC football season 2024, in my opinion. Bobby Petrino, the biggest named assistant coach, if you will. Of course, that went to Texas A&M last year. Now it's at Arkansas. Bobby Petrino, who potentially could step in for Sam Pittman if he gets fired. Eli Drinkwitz is going to be a conversation, I believe. And interesting note, I haven't even really thought about this, to be completely honest. The last point over here on the Saturday Down South article is, are we actually going to get a new SEC tiebreaker? Meaning divisions are gone, there might be a need for a tiebreaker. What could that tiebreaker be? And according to this article, the SEC has not released one yet. So could that happen during SEC's trip to Dallas? We'll see. I think that could be really, really interesting. SEC Media Days coming up this week. Starting today, Tennessee will take to the podium tomorrow, and we'll have all the coverage right here on your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Okay, when we come back, plenty more to get into. The Tennessee Volunteers have released the new edition of the Smoky Grays. Fair, foul, good or bad? All that and more is coming up next as we continue on here with a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. A final segment left here for your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Don't forget, Twitter Tuesday is coming up tomorrow, so any questions, comments, concerns you guys have about Tennessee football, baseball, basketball, transfer portal, recruiting, whatever that is, get those questions in at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. And, of course, you can put your question in the YouTube comments as well. Okay, so over the weekend, Tennessee unveiled its newest rendition of the Smoky Gray uniform, the third in a 4-year series that's currently set to run through 2025 at minimum, meaning one game. We don't know which game for this upcoming season, by the way. We don't know the game. We don't know the opponent. We don't know the week, but we do know the jersey. They released that. Tennessee will wear against an opponent. Last year, it was a tribute to the Artful Dodger and, of course, Condredge Holloway, and it looked really, really cool in some respects, in my opinion. This year, they released the jersey, and it's certainly aimed at, honoring the TriStar, and it's let's see here. I had it right here. It's set to pay homage to the TriStar and what makes Tennessee such unique as a state, and West Tennessee and Central Tennessee and of course East Tennessee. And it was Tennessee's in-house creative agency, 151 Creative, working in conjunction with the UT equipment staff and Nike to create the uniforms. That was from a university press release coming out on Saturday morning. VFL Films and football creative team launched the Volunteer State uniform, featuring a brand campaign with familiar landmarks across the state, including Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, Tri-Cities, and Knoxville. Also, they announced that the Smoky Gray merchandise is going to be available later in July and in early August for purchase. So, what does the new rendition of the Smoky Grays look like? Well, we'll start with the helmet, okay? And if you're watching on YouTube, this photo is courtesy of UT Athletics. This is what the helmet kind of looks like, and I'll show another picture here in a moment. It's got the Power T with a Smoky Mountain design behind it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can kind of see that right there. It's been altered with the helmet stripe paying tribute to Tennessee's state flag. There's a thick orange stripe, features an additional white stripe on one side with the 3 stars on the stripe on the back of the helmet. And that's what this looks like right here if you're watching. You see the orange thick stripe, you see the white outline on one side, then you see the 3 stars, East, Middle, and West Tennessee. That's kind of what the helmet's is symbolic of right there. Quote from the university release: "The 3 white stars that comprise the logo represent the 3 grand divisions of Tennessee, West, Middle, and East. The white circle bounds them together in one trinity," end quote. So that is what the helmets look like. Again, if you're watching, photos courtesy of UT Athletics. That's one picture of the side. You can see the Smoky Mountains behind the Power T right there. And then there's the stripe with the stars. Okay, so the jersey itself. Interesting to point out right here. These uniforms, the first time the TriStar has ever been featured on any Tennessee football uniform. Also, it's the first time that Tennessee, the script has been over the chest plate of the University of Tennessee. What I'm showing you is, or the jersey, that's what this looks like right here. The gray jersey features orange numeral outline in white with Tennessee word mark across the chest above the numbers. The collar features a power T, while the sleeves feature a tri-star emblem patch, an orange circle with 3 white stars. The Vols have never had a Tennessee word mark across the chest of the jersey, nor have they featured the tri-star logo as part of the uniform at all. So, that's the jersey. Look at the sleeve right here if you're watching on YouTube. But again, if you're listening, you can go check this out at Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. You've got some pictures that I'm showing right now. See the sleeve? It's got the orange circle, the white outline, the white stars representing East, Middle, and West Tennessee. So that is kind of what the jersey is right there. First time the Tri-Star has been put on any football jersey, and the first time, obviously, that Tennessee has been across the chest plate of any football jersey. So that's another look at the Tri-Star on the sleeve. You go to the pants now. The gray pants feature an orange state of Tennessee on the hip with the Tri-Star emblem in the middle. The pant stripe mirror the helmet stripe, paying homage to the stripe on the state flag with 3 white stars on the wider orange stripe at the knee. Quote, 3 stars that define us, the Vols wrote in the uniform launch. 3 stars that unite us, an ode to the volunteer state. And here's a picture of those pants to kind of give you a look at that. Here's a picture of the front of the pants. You see the white or the orange stripe down the side. You see the orange state, white outline circle with the 3 stars. And then, of course, this is a look at the complete side of it. Got the gray on both sides, a thick orange stripe, a white stripe on one side, then you got the 3 white stars. And then they've got on either side of this picture I'm showing you right now just a model, just wearing the jersey. So that is what the Smoky Gray uniforms look like for this year. There's been a lot of people that have put their comments out there, how they don't like it, how they think it's ugly, all this type of stuff. There was certainly some of that last year. But I think you got to remember, this is just in part of a series. It's for one game. And this is not something that Tennessee, at least right now, is going to wear 2 or 3 years from now. Maybe it'll be in the circulation that you can wear, for orange and white games or whatnot. But it's a part of a series, and I think it's kind of cool. And I'm a big Tri-Star guy. Also, first of all, I'm not a big uniform guy. I think a lot of you guys, you everydayers, know that about me. Not a huge uniform guy. I don't really care that much. But I don't see any issue with a lot of this. I'm not a huge fan of Tennessee across the chest plate. That's just me. But I don't have any issue with Tri-Star being all over. It's obviously, the point is the Tri-Star uniform. It's trying to pay homage to each part of the state. And the Tri-Star is put everywhere. It's on the pants, it's on the jersey, it's on the helmet. And obviously the other big time difference is having Tennessee across the chest plate. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I have no problem with the Tri-Star. I really don't. But I understand a lot of people that don't like them. At the end of the day, they're going to wear these for literally one game, and then that's going to be that. And then next year is going to be the final year, a part of this Smoky Gray series. And I'll be intrigued to see if there's a new plan that they roll out after that, if it's going to be done with for a little while, and maybe they call on. I love the Smoky Grays from the 2022 season. I really did. I thought those were sharp. I would love to see Tennessee wear those again. A lot of people didn't like those either. But I do think this is all, and again, it's part of recruiting. It's cool. It's hip. Recruits and fans love uniforms. I don't necessarily care for them, but recruits and fans love uniforms. So it shows that Tennessee's continued to be innovative. It shows that Tennessee is being fun. And I would expect, even after the Smoky Gray series is concluded in 2025, for another rendition of this to continue on in some way, shape, or fashion. So that is what the new Smoky Grays will be for this year. Love your input. If you like them, if you don't like them, @_Kane or @LockedOnVols. Of course, all your questions for Twitter Tuesday, mailbag edition of the show. That's coming up on tomorrow's show. Tennessee football, recruiting, basketball, baseball, transfer portal, all that and more. We'd love to hear your questions. You can also put them on the comment section of this episode on YouTube. We are completely free. You can watch us, listen to us, subscribe to us, download us, all that for free wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. Can't thank you enough for being here, guys. Really, really do appreciate you guys making Locked On Vols your first listen. We'll be back again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.